Trump took some time out for the work of assembling his new administration to hit Twitter, lashing out at the cast of the Broadway hit Hamilton. What one of the actors said from the stage on Friday night to the incoming Vice President Mike Pence, who was in the audience, is causing a social media uproar. And ABC's Candace Gibson is outside the Richard Rogers Theater right here in New York City, where it all went down. Candace, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. And as you know, Hamilton remains the hottest ticket here on Broadway. And can you believe it? It is now part of one of the biggest controversies since the elections. The president-elect going after the cast of the Tony Award-winning musical.
You know, we had a guest in the audience this evening.
This morning, the cast of Hamilton and the Trump camp engaged in an all-out duel.
Vice President-elect Pence, I see you walking out, but I hope you will hear us just a few more moments.
The diverse cast delivering a special message to the Vice President-elect Mike Pence.
But we truly hope that this show has inspired you to uphold our American values and to work on behalf of all of us. All of us.
President-elect Donald Trump taking a shot at the cast on Twitter, demanding they apologize, writing, "Our wonderful future VP Mike Pence was harassed last night at the theater by the cast of Hamilton. Cameras blazing. This should not happen." Within minutes, Brandon Dixon, who stars as Vice President Aaron Burr, challenged Trump's version of the story, saying, "Our conversation is not harassment. I appreciate Mike Pence for stopping to listen." With neither side apologizing, the controversy now proving as decisive as the election.
I don't think that any platform, even Broadway, would be inappropriate.
It was really not appropriate, and I was really disappointed, to be honest with you.
It's a free country. If you want to do something like that, you can.
Conservative critics calling to boycott Hamilton. Pence allies like Newt Gingrich and Mike Huckabee slamming the speech as an arrogant lecture. But their political rivals, including David Axelrod and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, praising the cast message of inclusivity. Mr. Trump on Twitter again this morning, tweeting, "The cast and producers of Hamilton, which I hear is highly overrated, should immediately apologize for their terrible behavior." And so far, the Vice President-elect himself, Mike Pence, has not actually responded to the whole controversy. But Lin-Manuel Miranda, the show creator, has tweeted his support to the message and to the cast. Dan, Paula?
Candace Gibson outside the room where it happened. Thank you. Let's bring in ABC's Martha Raddatz, who's in Washington, where she will be hosting this week, later this morning. Hey, Martha, good morning.
Good morning to both of you.
Hi, Martha.
Thank you. Whatever you think of what the cast of Hamilton said, how politically wise is it for the president-elect to take them on in this way, given the lingering concerns about both his temperament and his tolerance?
Well, I think it's clear either way Trump feels strongly about this. All the tweeting does play right into his critics' charge that he's thin-skinned, that he can't take criticism. But his supporters love when he fights back like this. In the end, most Americans are probably not paying attention to the squabble, or at the very least have come to expect this kind of thing from Trump and just kind of overlook it.
So Martha, Mitt Romney visited with Donald Trump yesterday. When we first heard this was going to happen, there was speculation that this was just about a photo op. But is he really serious about Mitt Romney for Secretary of State?
Well, so far it is just a photo op, a sign of good favor among Republicans, but it's also a step for Trump, who famously holds grudges. After all, Mitt Romney has said about him some pretty nasty things, calling him a phony and a fraud. That they met at all is supposed to show Trump is moving outside his inner circle with an openness to new people and new ideas, but we'll have to see if he becomes Secretary of State.
All right, so there's a concern about the lack of diversity so far in the hiring. We saw that he brought in Michelle Rhee and Nikki Haley, but is there really any likelihood of a pick who's not a white male at this point?
Well, I'll put those questions to his chief of staff, Reince Priebus, later this morning. There are lots of spots left to fill and lots of big names still circulating out there, including General James Mattis as defense secretary. He and Trump met yesterday as well. And not all of them are men, white men, like, as you said, former chancellor of D.C. Public Schools, Michelle Rhee, who was also at Bedminster yesterday. The 5 picks announced so far have all been white men, so the pressure is on.
Well, speaking of white men, we hear that Donald Trump is going to be meeting with Rudy Giuliani and Chris Christie, 2 loyalists today, who may have fallen out of favor. Is there still room for them in the cabinet?
You know, Dan and Paula, we know loyalty is very important to Trump, and those two have been at his side for nearly all of the ups and downs of the campaign. So we'll see. Giuliani is still a contender for a couple of positions, including Secretary of State. But Christie's in a tougher spot, I think, tarnished by the Bridgegate scandal and demoted on that transition team. He may really have a much tougher time with this. Paula and Dan.
Martha Raddatz, thank you very much. And I want to remind everybody, Martha's got a big show coming up this morning. She's going to speak with Donald Trump's incoming Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, as she mentioned. And she's going to go also one-on-one with the newly elected Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer. It's all coming up on This Week, later this morning, right here on ABC.
As always with Martha, it promises to be a great show.